live.
So, and welcome back to Geek Out to Say It's Friday and we're having fun.
It's Friday and
it's my birthday. So,
happy birthday to Vince. Happy birthday to Vince. Happy birthday, dear Vincent. Happy birthday to Vince and many more.
Thank
Yay!
So yeah, I don't think I've ever had a show that's landed on my birthday yet.
I don't remember it being that way, so I definitely am glad that we're gonna do this show all about Vince. It's all about Vince.
This is what Vince is doing.
So Vince doesn't know, but I'm going to ask him questions. So I'm going to interview him since it's his birthday.
And if you have any questions to ask me, you can definitely ask on the chat.
Definitely ask him on the chat and find out what's going on with Vince. So I'm going to start it off for you guys. Okay. So as you can all tell, we're both wearing Superman. If you've been watching the show at all, we all know that Vincent's favorite superhero is Superman. Mm-hmm. So I'd like you to start the show, Vincent, by telling us why. There are so many superheroes and comic characters to choose from. Mm-hmm. Why Superman?
Because it's probably the first superhero movie that I've ever seen in my life. Oh, let me turn that off.
Good job, hun.
So, it's probably the first superhero movie I've ever seen. I think the first even, because I didn't even, see Batman until after that. The
Adam West.
The Adam West one
Batman.
After that. And then that was in reruns then.
Yeah, but you've stuck with it. So why... That's a shallow answer. Let's delve deeper. So why have you stuck with him? You're grown now and you still stick with him. I mean, you are adamantly telling people the newest movies are good, the character portrayal is good. So why Superman?
I think it's always just been I think I've liked him more, the new Superman, because he's more humanized than he was before, because before he was always goody-goody. And throughout the years, he's been progressively more human. And since he was raised as a human by humans, I could see how he can be human in that respect. And then it kind of makes you think that how to go about life and do things for the right reasons is how I always, because Superman usually does things he always does things for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And that's mainly why I do it. And my grandmother's made me capes, and I always wore them.
Well, so that was going to be my next question. So if anybody's ever been paying attention to Vincent and knows anything about Vincent, he talks about his cape that was made by his nana. So what do you remember? Did you ask her for that cape, or she just made it for you?
I think I asked her, yeah.
You asked her for it, and so she sewed it for you?
Well, because I think my cousin and I used to play Superman outside, but I would put a towel. Okay. I would put a towel on my back, and that would be my cape. And he would always be Lex Luthor, or he would be the...
So he wasn't the second Superman or something. He was the bad guy or whatever.
He was the bad guy.
Fernando?
Yeah.
Fernando's a bad guy.
Yeah.
So did you ever, just precursor kids, if you're watching this at home, just because he answers this a certain way doesn't mean you do it, okay? With the cape on, did you ever do anything stupid because you thought you might have superpowers?
Well, I mean, I jumped off of ladders and stuff like that, but I didn't really jump off the roof or anything like that.
Didn't jump off the roof or anything like that? Did you ever try really hard to get off the ground and fly or something? Like, were you hoping or?
Yeah, I mean,
Because I've seen you try to use your Jedi skills.
yeah,
I've never seen you try to
really
use.
good at it.
I've never seen you try to use your Superman skills. So.
Well, I'm older now, and I know I can't fly.
You know you can't.
I mean, because who doesn't want to fly though?
Right, right.
I mean, even when I did my skydiving, when they did the video, they did it to the Superman theme, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I was also wearing my Superman shirt that day too, so it was really cool.
So that was your Superman.
I went with my mom. That my mom is actually producing the show today because Stuart is not here.
Yeah, he's dealing with life.
He's dealing with life. So
Vincent drug mom over here. Well, luckily she brought us yummy dessert. So
yeah.
So she's doing the producing now. So let me ask you something that people often asked about Superman. It's not necessarily about you, but you enjoying Superman if you find this to be a flaw. He has so many powers, right? Mm-hmm. He has so much capability and really a very minor weakness. Although if people use it correctly, it could actually be a huge weakness, right? Do you think that because he's one of the first, they went too far with him, or do you think he's balanced well?
I think he's balanced well now because he's not just affected by kryptonite. He's also affected by magic. So it's not just kryptonite. So people that have magical powers can actually do whatever.
So all in all, you think you're just like he's going to stay your number one?
Oh, always.
Always.
He's always going to be my number one.
So I've never heard anybody ask you this, so since we're still on superheroes. Superman is obviously your number one. Mm-hmm. Who's your number two?
It's got to be Iron Man.
Really? Iron Man. Yeah. Interesting choice. So why Iron Man?
Because he's a flawed human.
Really?
He's a flawed superhero.
I would have thought because of all of his gadgets and stuff. You're a tech guy. You're a tech guy.
I do like the gadgets. Yes, definitely. I love the suit. I love what it does. But yeah, I even before the movie, I used to like to play as for the Marvel side. I used to like Iron Man.
Nice. All right, good.
Because I used to like the energy blast that he would do, and
yeah.
he could fly.
And if anybody's paying attention, they should have known that because you have like an Iron Man Build-A-Bear and some other Iron Man stuff.
Yeah.
If anybody's paying attention to you, they knew that. But so he's flawed. Superman's pretty awesome and pretty perfect. So I'm going to go over to another one of your loves, which is Star Wars. Okay, so if anybody knows about you, they know you love Star Wars. If anybody can see your desk, they know what your current hobby is. So what's your current hobby?
My current hobby is lightsabers, making lightsabers. So I'm putting all the electronics in there and kind of weathering the hilt. So I've started this. What has it been, about a year?
Yeah, about a year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm waiting to get like different parts in to do it, and I think I did one in like less than a week.
Yeah.
I finished yours.
You finished mine really, really easily.
Yeah.
So getting good at it.
So I had to learn how to solder and how to desolder stuff, and it's been interesting how to like use a multimeter. So it's been a lot of fun.
So of the lightsabers, which one is your favorite?
It's gonna be my Kanan Jarrus, the one that I just made.
The one that you just made.
My Kanan Jarrus lightsaber.
That one's pretty cool.
That was pretty. When I saw that one, I was like, "That's the perfect one." I mean, everybody does know who Kanan Jarrus is. He is the Jedi, the blind one, in Clone Wars, the animated show.
Yeah. No, is it Clone Wars?
No, it's Rebels.
Rebels, yeah.
Rebels.
Yeah. So now that we've seen all these new shows, right? We get to see Clone Wars, we get to see Rebels, we see all these new shows. Of all of the universe now that we've seen, forward, backward, every direction, who is currently your favorite Star Wars character?
Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka Tano. Okay, why her?
I don't know. She seems to be more in tune of how you should view the Force as, not as dogmatic as the Jedi Council. There was a lot of flaws in there. Jedi Council was very political, which they shouldn't have been. They shouldn't ever have been political.
We actually just had this discussion today.
Yeah, we had this discussion today. Because we were talking about, well, what if and what if? Yeah, she would be my first, because she's kind of like the gray Jedi.
Yeah.
Kind of like Qui-Gon, kind of like Luke.
So Luke, I was going to say, so Luke used to be like your all-time favorite before we kind of expanded the universe out. What drew you to him? Because there's always definitely people are the light side or the dark side, right? So what drew you to him rather than to Vader?
It was don't get me wrong, I love Vader. I mean, I have Vader behind you right there with Mickey ears on. But I really like Vader, and I do believe that Vader was the actual chosen one. Throughout all of this, no matter what has happened, I still think Vader was originally the chosen one. And it happened the way it happened for that reason. But Luke definitely seems to be, because you've gone on this journey, you've gone through 3 movies, and you've gone through this journey with him, and he comes out to be a very different person than when you first saw him in New Hope, to Return of the Jedi, because it's like almost like a 360 or 180 that's been done. So I go through it, and then I really like his lightsaber. That's one lightsaber that I really need to get and build.
So if you could go through the Jedi trials yourself, through any of the Jedi training stuff that Luke did, or anything that he did with Master Yoda, or anything like that, what would be one that you would think would be the most fun to try out, if you could try it like in real life?
What do you mean? In what respect?
Like, so I'm thinking of, like, when he's there and they have the little ball and he's got the shield on and the little ball's like shooting at you and you try to do that, or when he's in the swamp with Yoda and he's trying to like raise the rocks and the ship and everything like that, or when he goes to meet himself. It's always been
like being able to move stuff with your mind. That's the thing that, as a Jedi, I think everybody thinks that they want to do. I mean, other than using the saber, because anybody can be trained to use a saber.
Right, because we get to see Finn use it, and you know, it's a tool, really, right? So it's how the Jedi wield it. But you have this fascination too with the kyber crystals, right?
Yes.
So why?
Well, that's the power source that's within the lightsabers. That's what gives them their power, and the color of the kyber crystals makes the color of the blade that color, which is interesting. Is what the really cool thing that what they did at what do they call it? Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World and Disneyland, is that you can put different colored kyber crystals in your saber, and it changes the color of your blade, which is really cool.
Yeah. So you kind of like that mystic kind of quality, where it's like mystic melded with tech kind of thing. Yeah. That's it. That's a cool concept.
Yeah, I like it.
So you're not going to like this next question.
Okay.
All right. So of all the fandoms that you have, there's Superman and there's Star Wars and there's a bunch of other things that we'll talk about in a little while. Of all your fandoms, of all the things you've ever like really liked and really gotten into, what is the one that you're the most embarrassed about?
Teletubbies.
What? Say it louder for everybody.
Teletubbies.
Teletubbies. Really? You
I
love
was really big into Teletubbies.
Right, and you were how old? I'm sorry. 27?
27? Yeah. That was when I was like, I was being a stay-at-home dad.
You were a stay-at-home dad.
And my brain was turned to mush watching Teletubbies.
Well, I think you should tell everybody the story about what happened when I called you one day.
You actually tell it better than I do, so you should tell it.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell stories about Vince. Now it's going to be story time about Vince, okay? So I'm working, and he's being the stay-at-home dad for a while to help out because 3 kids in daycare was like there was no way we could both work and afford 3 kids in daycare. So it just worked out for him to be at home. So he's doing the dad thing, and he's watching the Teletubbies. Well, I'm on my lunch break, and so I'm calling because the kids are older by the time he gets them. He's not really experienced with kids, so I'm like, I should probably check on him and make sure the kids are alive. And his mom had warned me, like, he can barely keep the dogs alive, so you should probably check on him. So I call him on my lunch break, and I'm like, hey, honey, like, I just wanted to check on you guys. And he goes, no, I can't right now, Teletubbies. And he hangs up on me. Legitimately. I called to check on them. And
I was like, I'm busy right now. I'm watching Teletubbies. I'll talk to you later.
When I got home that afternoon, he was like, I have to work. We can't do this anymore. I have to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got a job.
Yeah, and then he got a job, and my mom watched the kids. So. Yeah, I can see why Teletubbies might have embarrassed you. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But he does still have a Teletubby. He has a couple, actually. Yeah, he has a couple of them, actually.
Yeah.
So, they were cute. They were odd, which I can kind of see, right? It was kind of this odd...
It was like a surreal...
Yeah, like a surreal artsy kind of thing. Yeah, that didn't really make sense, but kind of made sense. Yeah. I could. But
wasn't that also done in Australia?
Maybe I'd have to
ask Australia,
Stuart,
like
like the Bananas in Pajamas and
what was that other one? The Wigglies or something?
Oh, the Wiggles.
The Wiggles.
Zaboomafoo. All of those things.
I like Zaboomafoo.
So I'm thinking back to when you were watching the kids and watching Teletubbies and stuff like that. You and I grew up in the 80s in a time of probably the best cartoons to ever be made, in my opinion.
Until you watch them today, and then you're like, this is really bad.
No, they were really awesome. I don't know what he's talking about.
They were really awesome at the time. When I saw them, they were awesome at the time.
Yeah.
But when I look at the animation that was done on it, I was just like, you couldn't have done better than that?
Well, not in the 80s. They couldn't have done better than that.
Yeah.
So, but our generation is known to be kind of the cartoon
but you
generation.
look at when you look at Cinderella and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, so what is your all-time favorite Saturday morning cartoon? It didn't necessarily have to come out on Saturday morning, but it has to be that kind of episodic type.
G.I. Joe.
As a kid, or even like anything you could pick now?
Thundercats.
Old school Thundercats?
Yeah.
Because that new one.
Old school Thundercats, yeah.
Old school Thundercats.
And Transformers. And there's a ton of them. I can't pick just one. It's real hard to pick just one because I used to watch all of them. I used to watch Jim and the Holograms.
Same. Totally.
And I thought that was really cool.
But you've never really gotten into like Rick and Morty or any of these that are coming out right now. It's
okay, and it does a lot of nods to like older stuff, so it's okay. It's kind of just, it's not creative. It's been done.
Ooh, he said it right here. Send your hate mail to www. No.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's funny. A lot of this stuff is funny, but it doesn't appeal to me as like original stuff.
Well, and when we were in our 20s, obviously, because when you're in your 20s, you think this stuff is
because
funny.
Rick and Morty is just Back to the Future.
Yeah, it is. But you liked South Park, Ren and Stimpy, that kind of stuff. But do you feel like you've just maybe kind of outgrown that kind of humor?
Yeah.
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 Because you went through like a Family Guy phase and that kind, and now we don't even watch any of it.
No, now we don't watch any of it.
Do you feel like maybe you've switched from Saturday morning cartoon-esque type watching to anime? Is that a switch you can make, or are they too separate?
They're just too separate. They're too different. I don't see them as the same. But it also depends on the anime. There's some anime that I don't like.
Well, because Pokemon, technically...
Pokemon is anime.
Is an anime. And they did that as a Saturday morning cartoon type thing. You know, it was on weekly when the kids were little.
Yeah.
And we watched that with them, so...
I mean, back in the day, I mean, I kind of... Because they showed it around the same time. Power Rangers. I was big into Power Rangers, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and didn't you like... oh, shoot, what's it called? Voltron?
Oh, yeah, I like Voltron.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Did you ever see that cartoon Reboot? Was it called
Yes.
Reboot? Mm-hmm. Did you like that kind of thing? That had kind of like that Max Headroom kind of techie, right? Kind of computery feel to it. So you're also a techie computer guy, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember? What is your first memory of having some kind of computer technology, access to some kind of computer technology that you used or worked on or anything like that?
Really the first one would have been... My mom bought me like a Smith Corona. Smith? Yeah. It was like a word processor. It was a typewriter, but it had a screen to it too. So
okay.
If I knew then what I know now, you were able to run programs there. I didn't know I was able to do that, but that was kind of my first little thing that kind of like showed me that WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. So you would type something, you could see it on the screen, and then you could like print it out.
Cool.
So that was a cool little thing. But coming to an actual computer would be my first exposure was to an Apple II GS that my aunt had at her house. And I used to love to play. She showed me this game called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. So I was big into games, but I didn't know anything about like computer games. But that was my first like computer game that I like ever played. And I just got addicted to it. She handed me, here's this almanac, and it'll help you figure out the rest of this stuff. I was like, oh, cool. So I would be looking stuff up, like looking where flags are and trying to figure out how to do it. But Carmen Sandiego, that was my first video game.
That's cool. And you were learning stuff and playing the game. You just didn't necessarily realize it, right? Because you're just having so much fun going through the game and stuff. That's so cute.
And I would like stay up like all night playing that game.
So you've had a problem with games since the beginning, is that what you're saying?
I've always had a problem with games, yeah. Even board games I really liked back in the day, and my mom hated it because I used to like playing. One of my favorite games is Monopoly. My mom hates Monopoly.
Yeah, the whole gaming industry hates monopolies.
I don't.
Your mom is not alone.
My dad's asking, how about Beavis and Butthead? I like Beavis and Butthead a lot.
He did. I've heard TP for my bumhole about 9,000 times now that we're in quarantine and there's no toilet paper. I'm cornholio. So the computer leads to the games. Excuse me, sorry. And games. Games is a big part of who you are. board games, role-playing games, computer games. So I want to start with computer type games or, NES or whatever. What is your favorite? You can pick your top 3 favorite titles.
Top 3 favorite titles. Number 1 is going to be River City Ransom. That's always going to be my most favorite one. The next one would probably be Metal Gear, but on the NES.
I called it. I knew it.
The original NES. But my third one would have to be Legend of Zelda.
Really?
Yeah.
Over Diablo.
I was addicted to Diablo, but I had more fun playing The Legend of Zelda.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So what did you like about Legends of Zelda? Like you're talking old school, right?
Yeah, the old school one.
Like 8-bit practically? Yeah, okay.
So it was at a time where there had never been a game like that before. And you just go on this journey, you go on this quest. And I was always big into like fantasy, and I was big into fantasy and swords and sword and sorcery and stuff like that. So that always appealed to me.
Well, that kind of has that Carmen Sandiego vibe too, right? You've got to go collect stuff and get somewhere, and right?
Carmen Sandiego was more like
finding clues.
Finding clues, and it's more of like answering questions stuff.
I always loved Link, and he's all, and then the little monster's all,
yeah.
So that original Metal Gear, it has come so far, right?
Yeah.
From that animation.
From the very first one that came out to what it is now, it's 2 completely different games. But they still have the same feel to them.
Well, when you were younger, because again, we grew up in this generation where these things were new in our lifetimes, right? Mm-hmm. So when you were younger and you were playing it, was it playing out different in your head? Almost more like the animation has caught up to the way it was playing in your mind? Or did you see it as that 8-bit? Or when you were playing it, did you really see those characters and things more clearly?
I don't think I was thinking about it then.
Yeah?
Because I just kind of immersed myself into the game and just let it be what it is. Maybe I saw better graphics in my mind, but not necessarily to where it is now. I was kind of like okay with, because what I saw then was better than I had seen on anything else. So It was amazing to me at that point anyway.
Better than Pitfall?
Yes, way better than Pitfall. Way better than Pitfall. Which, and it's not a far cry from Pitfall.
Right. Not too far.
Not too far at all.
So I have a cute story. I have another cute Vincent story. So I'm gonna jump in here every once in a while and tell y'all some cute Vincent stories. So again, Vincent is there's a lot of cute stay-at-home dad Vincent stories. So again, Vincent is a stay-at-home dad, and he has these 3 little boys with him. And they are 7 and 3 and 2 at the time. And so he's trying to entertain them and take care of them, but he loves a video game. Mm-hmm. So they're all little boys, so of course they're going to love a video game too, right? But he's competitive, so he doesn't want them to ruin his video game per se. So
it was 1 player.
Yeah, okay. So anyway.
It was a 1-player game.
He chooses Final Fantasy. He's into Final Fantasy at the time. And the thing about Final Fantasy is it's a 1-player, you're controlling it, but there's all these other characters that help your main character, but it's controlled by the computer. Well, the children are little children. They don't know. So he just puts all these controllers up next to it was the NES, right?
No, it was PlayStation.
PlayStation, yeah. And he doesn't connect them, because I guess he learned that if he connected them, the boys would push buttons and something might happen, or I don't know why. But they weren't actually connected to anything, but the boys don't even realize that. So I come home from work, and they're all sitting in a row, And he's playing, and he's being so sweet. He's like, "Oh my gosh, did you see your guy? He did this and this and this." And the boys are like beaming, and they're like so excited, and they're like, "Yeah, look, my guy got that guy!" And they were like so excited. It was so cute. You were so cute. It was a good idea. So I always thought that was really cute that you shared that with them. And then, of course, he did have them believing that he had collected all the Pokemon and that his car was the Batmobile, but it had to convert back during the day. He was kind of a trickster.
It was never the Batmobile.
It was. You told him?
That's never what I said.
You did. I promise.
No, I told him that I was a spy.
I'm pretty sure you said the Batmobile.
I didn't say the Batmobile.
You didn't say the Batmobile?
That
We
never
all
happened.
remember Batmobile, and you're the only one who doesn't.
And I was the one that actually said it, so.
He's getting dementia. He's 46. So, video games, right? Played a lot of video games, but not exclusively video games.
No.
Everybody, if anybody knows Vincent, if you're paying attention or if you're trying to learn about him now, Vincent writes role-playing games as well, with some help from a couple of other people. But what was your first encounter with a role-playing game?
It was back in high school, actually. It was actually in middle school. I was actually exposed to Cyborg Commando back in the day by my buddy Randy Perryman.
Oh, okay.
So, and he's passed away since, and but he actually exposed me to it first. But later on in high school, which I really got into, because I played it, I played it one time, and I really liked it. But what I was really exposed to it was back in high school when I met Richard Sanchez, and he actually he kind of did a spin on another game. It was called Macho Women with Guns. And that's where IMF came from. And then from IMF, we did our other things.
The organization.
The organization.
Yeah. So, between...
And it's on sale on Amazon if you want to check it out.
It's on sale right now. Shameless plug. So between role-playing games, board game, miniatures game, card game, which would you choose? If you had to throw away all the other ones and you could only keep one type.
Role-playing game.
Why?
Because you immerse yourself in your character. I've always been big into like acting and having fun with that. But you just immerse yourself. You become this character, and it like when your character does well, it makes you feel good. And when your character doesn't do so well, it kind of makes you feel bad. But it's just always been a lot of fun because you can do things that you wouldn't ordinarily get to do in the real world.
Yeah.
Which makes you kind of cool, or you're incapable of doing. I was like, I can't pick up a car with my bare hands.
Right.
Which
But in the game.
In some games, you can.
So Vincent story number 3. So I've played a lot of role-playing games with Vincent, obviously, over the years. We have had a lot of fun with the organization that used to be IMF and with Richard, and we have some really great stories from that actually ended up being some of the character things that happen in the book now. But we were playing a game this one time, and best RPG moment for Vincent. Well, let me tell you worst first, and then I'll tell you best. So worst was, we're playing with a D&D group, and they're like a hand-holdy, huggy group, and they just want to heal each other every 5 seconds. Like, we move 2 spaces, get a couple of hit points, we heal each other. We move 2 spaces, we get a couple of hit points taken, we heal each other, right? Vince hates that kind of role-playing. So he begins to antagonize the other players. And he's antagonizing them, and he's antagonizing them, and the GM's trying to get him, and he's just rolling really well, and he's antagonizing people. So the characters finally had to tie Vincent's character to the mast of the ship that we were on so that he could no longer play, so that he could stop antagonizing everybody. So that's his worst moment, where everybody at the game hated him. Best role
But
playing.
wasn't my character supposed to be that guy anyway?
I don't remember.
I think my character
maybe
was supposed to be like
you
that.
just took it like over the top, which is fine.
Well, I don't.
I don't have a problem
with
with
it.
it. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It was just the way they were playing. We played with some really bad role players before. But the best moment was, we're in this scenario and we're outside of this building and we've got to go in and like neutralize somebody. And, you know, the GM's like describing the street and what's like out there. And he's like, yeah, and there's like a taco truck over there. He's just throwing stuff out, right? Because he's not thinking about it. And Vince is like, oh, there's a taco truck? And he's like, yeah. Okay, we have these syringes of stuff that we're supposed to inject into these people? Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to go get a bunch of tacos. And I'm going to put the syringes in there. And then I'm just going to be like, taco surprise! Got you, sucker! The GM's like, good idea. Let's do that. And it totally worked, too. Vincent just rolled perfectly. It worked. Got in there with the tacos. Best role-playing moment for Vince ever. It was just hilarious.
It was a lot of fun.
He was like, I can use those tacos, thank you. I just liked it, and I like watching you when you came up with it. You were like, oh, yes. So those are perfect moments.
Yeah.
You have a good imagination, so that's a lot of fun.
Sometimes.
Sometimes
I don't.
Sometimes not. Well, I think we're all like that. So last one before we end for the night. You and I have gone to a lot of conventions, and we've actually run our own convention. So aside from your convention that you ran, what is the best convention you've ever been to, and why?
It's got to be the first time I ever went to Gen Con.
I knew it.
The first time I ever went to Gen Con, it was the biggest convention I've ever been to in my life. Then it was, I think back then it was probably almost 40,000
Like 40,000, yeah, just about.
But it was a lot, I was just exposed to like all these people there. Met a lot of people in the industry, met a lot of friends there, and it was just a lot of fun. To be able to do something of that magnitude, I mean, 'cause you have to, for Gen Con, you have to go all the way to Indianapolis.
And pay like $1 billion for a hotel.
And pay like $1 billion for a hotel.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't too bad, because that first time we shared with like three other people. But you met new people and just got to meet people in the industry, and then people like know me because of it, and that was really cool.
All right, so any last thing that you want everybody to know about you that they don't already know? Any super secret Vincent wisdom?
I don't know.
Oh, I know. One last one, and then
I need to
we'll
do a TikTok.
Don't even get me started on how much Vincent loves TikTok right now. If you were to describe yourself, okay, with 3 words, what would they be?
Geeky, techie, and funny.
All right.
What do you think? What are your 3?
Those were the 3 I thought you were. Those were the 3 I thought you were gonna pick. Yeah, definitely the 3 I thought you were gonna pick. We've been married too long.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's our 40 minutes. I've asked you a lot of stuff. I've made you on the spot. You seem like you're not as comfortable as you would like to be, as you normally are. This was not your favorite show, but I'm glad we got to do it and everybody gets to know you. Everybody definitely send Vincent a shout out and tell him happy birthday and say hi to him. And if you have any more questions for him, you can ask him in the comments below or on Facebook. We didn't do Facebook Live this week the same way we've been doing YouTube and Facebook, because we didn't want to tax Mom too much, but but we'll get back to it soon.
And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification button. But thanks for checking us out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen, and thanks Anna for helping.